I visited the practice of a perennial top 25 program this week. And what I saw was basically fake fundamental, fake fundamental, fake fundamental, uh, you know, some form of, fake fundamental into a small sided game, and then some predetermined block shooting drills, maybe a little random shooting drill, and then finally a short game of 3-on-3, and then ending with a 5-on-5 scrimmage at the end. So it was a fairly predictable practice. It moved gradually from easy to harder, from half court to full court, from simple to complex. Progressed in all the normal ways. But to me, what I saw was fake fundamental, where the assistant coach and the head coach gave contradicting instructions. Then a fake fundamental where the assistant coach, instructed incorrectly, and the head coach had to stop and re-instruct because the directions were incorrect, even though the skill that they were doing was purposeless anyway. But at least they were trying to do the purposeless skill in the right way when the head coach corrected it. And then there was a lot of running. So throughout the practice, the coach was upset that they weren't concentrating, they weren't executing, they weren't playing hard enough, they weren't talking enough. And so to me, if you look at the practice, okay, so we have fake fundamentals, fake fundamentals, fake fundamentals, coaches disagreeing, coaches instructing incorrectly. At what point as a player am I motivated, and to play my hardest? And at what point am I concentrating fully when I'm getting different directions from different coaches? My assistant coach instructs one thing, and then the head coach instructs another. At what point am I giving that my full attention, my full concentration, and my full effort? And as a coach, it's easy to blame the mistakes on the players and to criticize the players' effort and to criticize the players' concentration. And that probably has some merit. But what are we looking at from a coaching standpoint? Are we examining what we're doing as a coach that may be contributing to the lack of effort or the lack of concentration that the coach sees? So is there a lack of concentration in the drill because they're doing something that they've already mastered and there's no challenge in the drill? Is there a lack of concentration in the drill because it's something that's purposeless and the players know that there's no transfer from the drill to a game, so they don't really care how well they perform it because there's no learning to be done through the drill? Are they not talking again because the drill that's been designed is not game-like in any way, and so it's hard to know for sure how we're supposed to be communicating when it's not realistic to the game and we're basically just trying to follow directions in this random drill that really has no transfer to practice. And so I think if we look more closely at the way that we design practices, I think we can explain some of the lack of effort or the lack of concentration, the lack of attention, the things that coaches typically will criticize players or get upset at players during the course of a practice. That's not to absolve the players of their mistakes or their lack of effort, because regardless of how that practice is being planned or designed, you would hope that the players are there to give their best effort to improve in whatever way they can, to maximize their time on the court. But I think part of it has to come down to the coaches as well. We can't just blame the players all the time and say, well, they just don't play hard or they just don't pay attention, when the drills are unrealistic, don't transfer to the game, purposeless, and the players know that. I think there's this assumption that coaches are knowledgeable and coaches know everything and players don't know anything, and coaches need to tell players everything so that they can learn. Whereas I think players, especially at the college level, are quite intelligent and they understand and they can see whether or not a drill transfers to the game or whether that drill's important to their performance or not. And so they can kind of coast through the drills that they know aren't really that important to their performance in a game, and then they can pick up their intensity when they're in a more relevant or representative drill. And again, that's not how we want to develop players, but I think that's a lot of times how players look at a practice. They're going 2-3 hours. In this case, I know the coach was going over their allotted hours for the week. And so as a player, you have to manage that effort. If you're supposed to be there for an hour, but you know that the coach is likely to go an hour and 45 minutes, well, you're probably not going to be able to give sustained 100% effort for an hour and 45 minutes. There's going to be times where your energy or your effort level ebbs and flows, and typically, if you're an intelligent player, you tend to devote less of that effort to the drills that have less meaning to the game, i.e. the fake fundamentals. And so then when there's the lack of concentration or the lack of effort in the quote-unquote easy drills, because they're the fake fundamentals, so there's no defense or no real complexity to the drill, and then when there's mistakes, well, then the coach gets extra mad because that's the easy drill and we're making mistakes. But it's not a drill that's really capturing the player's attention, and so they're not giving it their full effort or their full attention. So is that the fault of the players, or is that the fault of the coach and the practice design? Again, I think it's probably both. But if we want to rectify the problem as a coach, we can design better practices and design better drills that will capture their attention and require their full effort, so that we don't engage in these an hour of fake fundamentals where the players are disengaged and disinterested, only to try to pick up their effort once we get to a scrimmage situation, or a random shooting drill or something that they understand has relevance to the game and to their performance in a game. So again, this isn't meant to only criticize coaches or to absolve players of all of their faults, and to shift the blame onto coaches. But I think coaches and players need to work together and find out, what are the activities that are going to draw players' full attention, that's going to draw their full effort, and how can we design better practices that are going to increase effort and increase attention and show that there is a purpose to what we're doing, and we're not just running up and down the court, trying to stay busy for an hour before we do the important things in practice.